Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic, let's do it. What's something that made you lose respect for someone? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. A former friend of mine is now very cheap. She won't even throw a few pieces of fries away because she doesn't like to waste food. I really respected that because I'm not super careful with money. She rode her junk bike around, and one day it broke to the point of no return. I had some bikes around that I sort of fixed, so I sold her one of them for $50. It caused some issues, and I tried to fix it, but it didn't work out. I obviously felt bad. Eventually, she asked for her money back. I apologized and gave her $50. A few days later, I asked for the bike back so I could fix it and sell it online or something. She said, "Well, the bike is not worth $50, and it caused me so many troubles. I'm not going to give you the bike back." I said, "What the? That's not how this works. Either give me $50 or the bike." She said, "I'll have my mechanic friend look at it and offer a fair value for this bike. I need the bike, but it's not worth $50. I knew that she's cheap, but I didn't know that she's this cheap. College in London, I had a car and my mate didn't. Nor did I have a driver's license, so I regularly drove to the other side of the city to pick him up or drop him off. I never once asked for gasoline and would have rejected the offer if it were made. It's a mate, right? One night a group of us were out in town and decided to go watch a film. I called him up, told him to get over, and I'd pick up an extra ticket to make sure he could make it. When he arrived, he took the ticket and casually said, "Get the money from Bob, he owes me." I'd spent my last £10 on that ticket. Everyone decided to go get McDonald's. I couldn't afford to eat. Then they decided to go to a bar, and I swear he asked me what I wanted to drink. I asked for a Coke. He came back holding two, thinking one was for me. I reached for it, and he looked at me and said, "In your dreams," and walked past. I didn't have much to do with him after that. I was at someone's home, and because his son would not stop hanging on him, I put him in a sleeper hold till his 13-year-old passed out. The dad did not think anyone saw him do it. I pulled him aside and called him on it. He did not think it was that big of a deal. I called out to my wife, said I could no longer associate with him, and we left. I explained to her what he did. Later, the wife called asking I asked if she knew what he had been doing. He's now divorced and not allowed near his 3 sons' homes. I hate this because the oldest son has made school life difficult for him. When a member of the team I supervise ranted about my leadership to me while I was actively trying to support them in dealing with a difficult client and then said, "I guess I should just chalk it up to your age," I reminded her that I was her boss and that if she had the gall to say that to her supervisor, could I trust what she was saying to clients and colleagues? That seemed to get my point across. I will continue to treat her equitably and professionally through the end of her contract, but I no longer respect her. A woman robbing $25,000 out of her terminally ill ex-husband's bank account before a divorce, then getting her son to assault him so that she could claim self-defense and sue him when he fought back. No, he didn't win the case or get a dime of his money back. The worst part is that before the divorce, he had already given her $25,000 and paid her way through college, which she immediately dropped out of because he wanted to make sure she was taken care of. Dumb bitch spent the money on drugs and it was gone in less than a month. After years of helping my sister with her bills, $150 car insurance, $120 in phone bills for buying tires for her car, helped pay to get her in and out after she had got it repossessed. That happened 3 times, and I spent countless dollars on baby food, milk, diapers, clothes, and car seats for her son. I spent every day off work babysitting her son. I mean thousands of dollars. She couldn't drive me to work one time after my car broke down. It wasn't missing work that mattered. The way she reacted when I asked, "Why would I do that if I can sleep in tomorrow? You're lucky I'm picking you up now. I could just let you sit out there." It was very disappointing, but I learned that no matter how much you do for people, it doesn't matter. So I spend my time and money on myself now, and no one expects things from me now or even asks me. I feel a lot less stressed. How ungrateful. After covering her ends for so long, to not have just a simple gesture returned to you, I know family is forever, but that's a tough one. When it came out that a friend was cheating on his disabled and housebound wife, she managed the finances and got the Easy Pass electronic billing system bill that showed he was in the wrong state when he was said to be at work. When confronted, he denied it until she pulled out the phone bill with his texts and called a number in the general area where the Easy Pass was getting billed. He then divorced her and tried to screw her out of her share of his Navy pension and insurance. They were married for longer than his time in the service, 25 years. And was she legally entitled to half of it? He went out of his way to hurt her. She died less than a year later in a nursing home, while he was moving in with a completely different woman than the one he originally cheated on his wife with. A real class guy. Showed up to the first wife's funeral with number 2. He also claimed to go whaling while in the Navy. He and his fellow sailors would apparently search out and bed the largest lady that they could find while on shore leave. The winner took home the biggest and got bragging rights till the next round of leave. This was a Dark Heresy 2nd Edition campaign on Roll20. In the first game session, he ends up killing 2 of the players because they wouldn't obey him. The game turned really awkward, and I ended up having his character killed off because the Inquisitor didn't trust him. He didn't really have a justification other than, "It's what my character would do," to which I replied, "Well, I guess my character would kill you for this, since you can't be trusted and are unstable." Having learned from DMing games for over 10 years, you don't remove agency from other players. That's just a dumb move. My friend got blackout drunk and swung on my other friend's girlfriend, missed, then shoved her down. Her boyfriend then choked and slammed my drunk buddy into a hot tub. I let him choke the guy for a few seconds before pulling him off. All this started because my drunk friend accused my buddy's girl of hating his dog because it was sick, and she put a blanket on it. They were all roommates. And after that incident, they told me he had also gotten incredibly drunk a few nights ago and pointed his AR-15 at another friend hanging out at the house as a joke. We sat him down the next day and told him that we loved him, but he had to move out. I haven't spoke to him since. My best friend was cheating on her husband and told me about it. Our husbands were best friends too, though. She told me not to tell my husband. I told him the next day because our relationship isn't built on lies and secrets. I told her that I would be telling him, and of course she was upset. She made me feel like a bad guy. My husband told her that she needed to tell him soon or he would. She told him a couple weeks later. Our friendships haven't been the same. I've basically resigned to knowing that we won't be friends again. Her and her husband are trying to work things out, so I don't know if my husband will be able to salvage the friendship either. It was really disheartening because we were all really close. But there's no way I'm going to put my marriage in jeopardy to save your dirty little secret. And I don't think I could be friends with someone who would expect that of me. The girl I went to primary school with 10 years earlier was due to be popping out her 5th baby. She'd never had a job, and her husband was a trash human, but had a decent job as a butcher in town. I heard she was doing it tough for food. So I made a little donation from the pub I was managing. Bunch of tinned foods, tray full of bacon, lamb chops, steak, chicken legs, sausages, and rissoles. Plus 24 eggs, 2 loads of bread, and a bucket of apples, strawberries, and mangoes. I took it round to her, and she just winged that she had chickens, so she doesn't want eggs, and doesn't like lamb or beef. So why did I give her that? The tin foods were the commercial brand, not the expensive ones. And her family doesn't eat shit from trees. It'll feed the chickens about the fresh fruit. Then the kicker was that she cursed me out and told me I needed to cancel the pub ban on a guy who had physically assaulted me 5 days earlier because he was her drug dealer. And it cost her more now because he had to walk further to get his alcohol. How I keep my cool and didn't snatch everything back and take it to the next town's homeless shelter, I don't know. My son's friend used to spend weekends and nearly his entire summers at our house. One weekend, the boy was staying over with us when we had a terrible toothache. He was crying and just rocking back and forth, writhing in pain. We looked at the tooth and it was completely rotten and broken. I tried to reach the parents but couldn't get a hold of them. We did the best we could to comfort him. When we took him back home, we told the parents about it, and they admitted they had known about it for a while but couldn't afford the dentist. In the damn near same breath, they proceeded to show us the new flat screen TV and surround sound they just bought for $700. The boy continued to suffer in that home, in many ways we didn't even know about until later, for a couple of years, when finally my wife and I called CPS. We were so afraid of making things worse and were pretty certain that they would know exactly who made the complaint, and it would jeopardize our being able to give him any reprieve if they cut us off from having contact with him. When we finally made the call, it went exactly as we feared. The agency wouldn't give us any details of the contact, but the boy's parents cut us off completely. My son saw him at school, and that would be the only way we could communicate with him. One night several months later, he showed up at our door. It turns out he had ran away. Cops came. He tried to explain the abuse that he was having in the home, which at this point, we found out had turned into physical beatings, and the cop told him to knock your shit off and get in the police car, and they took him back to the abusive parents. The next morning, the mother came to our house with the boy and told us to keep him. So, we went through a big process and got legal guardianship of him, and ever since, he has been in our home. He's treated like our own son. The first thing we did was go to a dentist. I'm not one to wish ill on anyone, no matter what they've done, but I hope those people burn in hell. I bailed last minute on our student house for the second year. One of the other guys, B, already had it, and he, O, knew it, but O waited till after half of us had paid the holding fees, not a lot of money, about £20 each, but that isn't the point. O had a genuine reason to do so, but the way he went about it was just a massive F you to all of us, and it took him weeks before he finally actually explained the reason to us. B immediately covered half of the holding fee, which we had paid, having spoken about O and them agreeing to pay us, without any mention of either of them needing to do so. Apologized and got us around that evening. I never heard anything close to an actual apology from O, and B ended up trying to cover O's half. We all refused point blank, because we hadn't seen a penny from him. A few weeks later, O was drunk and in a bad mood, and him got into an argument. He dragged one of our other friends, a very nice girl who always went out of her way to help you out, into it, and started being incredibly harsh to her and venting a load of shit at her. Being a dick to me was fine, I'd earned it, but saying shit to her was totally an unnecessary and a see you next Tuesday move. In the end, we were very glad we weren't stuck living with O for a year. He was a miserable little prick who always blamed others for not being happy, twisted everything to make us the bad guys, and called us pathetic idiots for actually enjoying our time at university just because he wasn't. Several years ago, me and a group of friends went to this anime con. At some point, we decided to go watch the cosplay contest. We all get seats, and I'm next to the couple in our group, both of whom I was friends with. One of the contestants was a girl in a beautiful Princess Minnie Moon cosplay. Admittedly, though, the girl was kinda heavyset, though I didn't think it detracted from the cosplay. They thought otherwise. The entire time she was on stage, the two of them went on and on about how awful she was, how fat she was, and how she didn't deserve to be there. It got annoying really quick. Well, it was about to go from annoying to insufferable, because Minnie Moon ends up getting first in her category. I was happy for her, but I couldn't celebrate for long because, by God, it set the two of them off. For the rest of the convention, any chance they had, they would talk shit about the mini-moon, and for hours, and how stupid the judging was. And no, not once did they bring up the craftsmanship of the cosplay, only her size. It took some fire, but I've since distanced myself from the two of them.